She was only a quiet clerk in the mountains, ignored and forgotten. But when danger came, her patience turned into power. What no soldier could see, she saw, and one night, she saved an entire outpost with nothing but silence in her eyes. This is the story of the Silent Guardian. The outpost was hidden in the mountains. Wind howled against the stone walls, carrying the smell of snow and pine. Soldiers came and went, their boots echoing on the cold floors. Radios crackled with static. Maps lay scattered on wooden tables. Weapons rested in racks by the door. For most, this was a place of noise and duty. For her, it was a place of silence. Her name was Alina. She was not listed on rosters, nor called for drills. She was not given medals, nor trusted with commands. To the soldiers, she was only the clerk, the one who copied supply records, stacked papers, and repaired broken radios. They barely looked at her. Some called her the Quiet One. Others forgot her name altogether. She did not mind. Her desk was in the far corner, near a small window that overlooked the valley. Every morning she sat there with a pencil and paper, recording numbers that no one else wanted to track. She kept the logs precise. Food supplies, fuel barrels, even the broken shovels. Most people saw this as meaningless work, but to her it mattered. She believed small details kept the outpost alive. No one noticed how often she lifted her head from the papers. No one saw the way her eyes traveled across the valley. She could watch the tree line for hours, tracing the curve of shadows as the sun moved. She could follow the flight of crows as they wheeled over cliffs. She noticed when smoke rose faintly on the horizon, too thin for anyone else to see. She noticed when the snow melted unevenly on one slope but not another. She had been like this since childhood. Her father once told her, "You see what others don't. That's your gift." Back then, she thought it was useless. While other children laughed, shouted, and played, she sat quietly, staring at distant ridges, naming patterns in the clouds. Years passed, but the gift remained, and now, here in the mountains, she was still the quiet watcher. One evening, as soldiers returned from patrol, Alina overheard them joking. If the clerk disappeared tomorrow, nothing would change, one man said. The others laughed. She lowered her eyes, pretending not to hear, but the words cut deep. Was she truly invisible? Did her presence mean nothing? She pressed her pencil harder into the paper until the lead snapped. For a long time, she sat in silence, staring at the broken line on the page. Deep down, she felt a question stirring. Was she only meant to write numbers? Or was there something more her eyes were trying to show? Elena's gift was patience. While others rushed, she slowed down. While others glanced once, she studied twice. While others trusted noise, she trusted silence. She remembered her childhood in the valley below these mountains. When her brothers hunted rabbits, they ran clumsily through bushes, scaring prey away, but she would sit motionless on a rock, waiting. Birds landed near her. Deer wandered close. She never shot them, never chased them. She simply watched. Her father used to laugh. "You don't hunt, you listen." That same patience followed her into adulthood. She found it in her work. Radios that others declared broken, she repaired with careful hands. Maps that looked like messes of lines, she studied until the terrain unfolded in her mind. She could look at a supply log and know if numbers were wrong. She could hear static on a radio and know which frequency was drifting. One night she stayed late in the supply room. Outside, snow was falling softly. A veteran scout named Darius entered, stomping his boots. His coat was heavy with frost. He was known for his sharp tongue and sharper eyes. He noticed Alina bent over a map. "What are you doing, clerk?" he asked, fixing this map. She said quietly. He smirked. "You smirked. You've never set foot past the gate." Alina didn't argue. She pointed at a line on the paper. "This path is wrong. Snow drifts here. See the bend in the river? The water cuts too close. It will flood in spring." Darius frowned. He knew that place. He had walked it many times. He squinted at her, then laughed. "Lucky guess." He left without another word. But days later, when a patrol returned soaked and angry, they confirmed her warning. The path had indeed flooded. The men muttered about bad maps. Only Darius looked across the room at Alina, his eyes narrowed in thought. She lowered her gaze, pretending not to notice. But inside, a spark lit. For the first time, someone had seen a glimpse of her gift. Winter tightened around the outpost. The mountains grew harsh. Avalanches thundered in the distance. Supply lines slowed. Soldiers grew restless. One morning, Alina sat by her window, pencil in hand. She was recording crates of ammunition. But her eyes wandered, as always. Across the valley something felt wrong. Birds were flying lower than usual. Smoke rose faintly from the tree line, curling in an odd way. She leaned forward, heart tightening. Moments later, gunfire cracked from the slopes. Shouts rang through the outpost. An ambush. Enemy fighters had hidden in the trees, waiting. Soldiers scrambled, grabbing rifles, rushing to the walls. Alina didn't move. She kept watching, her eyes fixed on the smoke. She saw the exact ridge where shadows shifted unnaturally. She stood and shouted for the first time. "Left ridge, second slope. They're circling." The men froze. No one had ever heard her raise her voice. Darius the scout grabbed his binoculars and checked. His face went pale. She was right. Orders flew. Soldiers adjusted their fire, cutting off the attackers before they could advance. The outpost held. The ambush collapsed. When silence returned, men cheered their victory. Some praised Darius for spotting the flank, but he shook his head. His eyes found Alina. She saw it first. He muttered. For a moment, the soldier stared at her with something new, not mockery, not dismissal, but uneasy respect. Alina sat down again, her hands trembling. She picked up her pencil, though she could barely hold it steady. She did not smile. She did not speak, but deep inside, she knew something had changed. After the ambush, Darius began to watch Alina more carefully. He noticed how she studied the valley each morning before anyone else was awake. He saw how her pencil paused when the wind shifted, as if she was writing invisible notes only she could understand. One evening, he approached her desk. "Come with me," he said. She looked up, confused. "Why?" "Because maps are one thing, but the mountains are another. You see them differently. I want to know how." That night, he led her outside the gates. Snow crunched beneath their boots. The moon painted silver light across the ridges. The air was sharp and silent. Darius stopped and pointed toward the peaks. "Tell me what you see." Alina squinted. At first, she saw only darkness, but slowly, shapes appeared. A thin trail carved through a slope. A faint smoke curl marked a hidden campfire. A flock of birds wheeled high, circling something unseen below. She whispered her observations. Darius frowned. He checked with his own scope, then swore softly. She was right, again and again. From then on, he began to test her. He led her at dawn, forcing her to read wind from bending grass. He showed her ridges and demanded she predict avalanches. He asked her to find paths no one else could see. At first, she hesitated, but as days passed, her answers came faster, steadier. "You don't think?" Darius muttered once. "You just see." She only nodded. Her training was not like the drills of soldiers. She was not taught to fire rifles, march, or salute. Instead, she was taught to listen to silence, to measure patience, to wait until the world revealed itself. She filled notebooks with sketches of clouds, patterns of birds, the curve of shadows at noon. The soldiers still called her clerk, but whispers began to spread. Some said she had the eyes of a hawk. Others said she was lucky. A few scoffed. But Darius knew the truth. She wasn't lucky. She was learning faster than anyone he had ever trained. And though Alina never sought praise, she felt something stirring inside her. For the first time, she wasn't invisible. It began as a joke. Soldiers were practicing archery at the range, trying to pass time. They placed straw targets at 100 meters. Most missed badly. Laughter filled the air. One of them saw Alina walking past with her notebooks. "Hey, clerk," he shouted. "Think you can do better?" She froze. The men grinned, expecting her to refuse. But Darius, standing nearby, crossed his arms. "Let her try," he said. They handed her a bow, heavy and unfamiliar. She held it awkwardly, adjusting the string. The soldiers smirked. "Target's too far," one muttered. Alina raised the bow. She breathed slowly. In her mind, the valley returned. The way wind moved like water, the way shadows curved around ridges. She felt the string tremble against her fingers. She saw the straw man, small against the horizon. She did not rush. She waited, then she released. The arrow hissed through the air. A heartbeat later, it struck the center of the target. Silence fell. The men stared. Some cursed. Others laughed nervously. "Beginner's luck," one insisted. Darius only shook his head. "Not luck," he said quietly. They moved the target farther, then farther still. At 200 meters, at 3, she missed once, then adjusted calmly, and hit again. Each time, her patience grew sharper. By the end, soldiers whispered among themselves. The quiet clerk had done what most of them could in single quotes too. Alina lowered the bow, her arms aching. She felt no triumph, only calm. She placed the weapon back gently.